pay out next period. Each unit of the bond that I buy, it costs me QT, and it pays out 1 unit in the future of currency. So this bond is, well, we can scale it up or down, but so think of it like as one euro. Or maybe let's do it $100,000. So we pay out then, everything's in terms of 100K. So it gives $100,000 next period. So let me write this down here. This is the times 1. It's normalized. The payout when it pays out is 1. How many meals will I be able to buy in a year from now with $100,000 at the canteen? Well, I don't know that exactly, right? That's why it's an expectation. We don't know the price level in a year from now. Right? So I'm going to get some money in the future. That's going to allow me to buy some meals in the future. How hungry do I think I'm going to be in the future? Well, I don't know that either. So the best I can do is form an expectation of that. And that's going to give me expected utility in terms of tomorrow's happiness. I discount it with beta, and that gives me that in terms of today's happiness. And there's already some sense, we do know something, but do we have any idea how hungry we're going to be in the future? We have some idea. I mean, you're here studying, presumably for many other reasons, again, for the love of knowledge, and science, which is fantastic, but also because, getting this degree is likely going to increase your income in the future. You're probably going to be less hungry in the future. Things work out the way you're expecting, you'll be less hungry in the future than today. Because you'll have higher income, you'll be able to afford where you're not going to be, I can't eat lunch or a good lunch, I'm just going to have instant noodles. No, you can have, good solid meals every day. That's what you're doing here, what part of the reason why you're here, to get a good education, to get a good job. Right? So there's some sense where you know something about this margin utility from consumption. It's probably going to go down a little bit in the future. And this is important for you to understand why. Maybe this equation tells us why students probably aren't saving a whole lot. You're hungry now. Now is when there's lots of things you'd like to buy. You want to go to the club this weekend with your friends. You don't have the money. You want to buy an iPhone 17 Pro. You don't have the money. You're hungry for lots of things that you can't afford today. Presumably in the future, right, you expect to be less hungry. You expect to have more income. So 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you'll be in a position where you can go to the club with your friends. No problem. If I really want an iPhone 17, sure, I'll be able to buy it in the future, but not today. So this means this is very high today, and we're expecting this to be very low in the future. Right? So that tells you to get you to save, you have to be offered a very high interest rate. Because you're already, just by waiting, just by going through your life, by living your life with your education, you're going to have more in the future. Right now is when you'd like to have something. Right? Think about your consumption savings model. You're likely the person who would like to be borrowing. So if we're going to get you to save, we're going to have to offer you a very high interest rate. Right? And the last thing that I want to look at is today, or the weekend, is Q. What this means with the price of a bond and how we can think of this being related to the nominal interest rate. So our bonds we divide them in period T, and they pay out in period t plus 1. We pay an amount qt, that's the price of this bond today, and this price is normalized, so the bond is normalized so that it pays out 1 unit of currency in the future. And since it's weird to think about 1 dong, let's think about this maybe in terms of one, we can think of this as maybe, so VND, we'll call it KVND, right? So the question is then, how much would you be willing to pay today in thousands of Vietnamese dong to get 1,000 Vietnamese dong paid to you with certainty in a year? Now, how would we go about that? We could think of an alternative. How could you get 1,000 Vietnamese dong to be paid out to you by going to a bank in a year? You could buy it, you could save, right? You could put your money in an account that bears interest, right? Now let's, to make the math a little bit simpler, let's assume the interest rate is 10%. How many dong would you have to put in the bank today so that you would have 1,000 dong in a year from now? Right? If the interest rate is 10%. No. What's your idea? You want 1,000 dong in the future, in 1 year. We have a 10% interest rate. How much dong do you have to invest today to get 1,000 in the future? You're going to multiply this, so it's going to be divided by 1 over 1 plus the interest rate. Yeah. That's the price, that's this Q. 1 over 1 plus the interest rate. So if I want to pay out 1 in the future, right? I multiply 1 with 1 over 1 plus IT. If I want 10,000 dong, well, it's just 10 times that. If I want 100,000, it's 100 times that. This is the price per 100,000 dong. The price per 100,000 dong in a year in dong today. And with a positive interest rate, right, this is a 10% interest rate, it's going to be at about 0.91. Right, so you need about 910 dong. 10% times that, 10 times will get you about the 1,000 dong. So we see that Q is inversely related to the interest rate. Might have seen this in finance class before. The price of a bond is related inversely to the interest rate. Here we see this again. All right, so that's why it's kind of weird. This is, we can choose a quantity. We chose yesterday how many dong we wanted today. Yeah? And today we get to choose how many dong we want to pay out tomorrow. Right, so if we want 100,000 dong next year, no problem. We just have to pay Q times 100,000, and Q, the price of a dong 1 year in the future, is Q2 dongs today, which has to be related to 1 over 1 plus the interest rate. Yeah? And it's fantastic. You knew the answer. You just had to work through and think about it for a second. You were already did what we did there was an arbitrage argument. What's the alternative investment? If I invest the money at a market interest rate, how much would I have to invest to get the same payout, same return? We did arbitrage without me explicitly telling you. Use a no arbitrage argument using a nominal investment at interest rate I to determine the price of this bond Q. You did that naturally. Which means you're all natural economists, natural New Keynesian economists, and on that note, we're gonna call it a week. And next week, we're going to bring our household together with firms. And then see what this means for inflation, see what this means for monetary policy, see how technology shocks evolve, and then see what happens if we're in an open economy and what happens if we have financial frictions. Right? So it's going to be essentially exactly like this past week, except now we're upgrading to the DSGEs, and we've done some preparation now. So thank you very much, and I'll see you then next week on Monday. Yeah.
This afternoon or
Yeah, we go this afternoon, yeah.
you want to have them outside? I mean, in front of the thing.
I'm sorry?
You want to have them?
No, I'm gonna, because I've been trying to get an appointment for something, so I think I have to leave pretty quickly here,
Okay.
so, next week then.